Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. I'm your host, Giovanna Tartarone, and today we're going to be understanding our human design, our personality, and the gifts that we bring to this world. I have my guest, Peter Roth, here, who is a human design analyst. He's been doing this for many years. Welcome, Peter.
Well, thank you for wanting me to be a guest on your show. I really am flattered and appreciate talking with you.
Of course, you have a beautiful talent, and the work that you do really helps people to, navigate life in a different way once they understand their human design and what they're here to do. So tell us how you got into this work. What is it? Because I'm sure some of my audience do not understand what human design is. If you can just give us a little bit of history and the work that you do.
Right. Well, it's the human design. It's called the human design system, and it has to do with our birth data. So it has to do with the moment we're born. And there's even a part of it that starts 88 and a half days before we're born. And that's when the unconscious half of our personality clicks in. And that's half the chart. And yet you would think that how does it know when that 80 and a half days were? Because what if I was premature or I was a few days late? I mean, how does, but all is in divine order. And I've done thousands of these charts, and nobody has ever argued about any of the traits that it shows. So I know that it's quite accurate, and I believe in it. It really changes your life to know yourself better.
And I love that because it helps us really identify the gifts that we come here to share with the world. Am I correct?
It's more than that. It's more than the gifts. It's the whole template of
it's our blueprint.
The light and even the dark. There are shadows. We all have shadows. And when it reveals our shadows, then we get to work on them better. And so there are no perfect charts. We all are born with personality issues, and some have more than others. They're actually charts that aren't so nice. I mean, the human design is not a whitewash saying, oh, let's say all the nice things about you and we'll just be all positive. And that would be nice, but human design is made of traits from the Chinese I Ching. And that's an ancient book of wisdom, thousands of years old, divided up into 64 parts. And the Chinese figured out those parts in between, like the extremes of yin and yang, and these are all the complications in between. And so they derived understandings, concepts in 64 different ways about life. And since life is a full spectrum, the I Ching contains all aspects of life. And so human design actually contains all aspects of the good and the bad. And we all hope we're born with more good than bad. And we can tell in our lives, what kind of personalities we have, if we're getting along well, and if we're not making trouble for ourselves and others, etc. There are charts that are really bad. My brother was married for a while to a woman whose chart was so bad we couldn't show it to her because she was herself. So I don't want to scare off people because you know yourself. You know if you're a good person, you're going to have a good chart. And so it's just that it might show you things that can trip you up in life. And we all need to know those things because then we trip up better.
That's right. That's right.
So it's a good thing. yeah, it's great to know ourselves in all of these intricate ways. And human design is very intricate. I can do
It
like an
sure is.
overview reading. Yeah, I can
No,
do an
I saw the
overview
charts.
reading in maybe in 15 minutes. I can tell people a few things about their chart. I can do an overview reading in an hour, but when I do a real in-depth reading, it can be 2.5 hours because it's that much detail. And it and everybody when I do chart readings, they go, well, that's right. Oh yeah. So far so good. So far so good. All the way till the end of the reading. So,
How long have you been doing this?
well, I studied with the originator of this about 22 years ago. And so I've been certified in it for that time. So that's why I've been able to do thousands of chart readings over these years. And I've seen
Beautiful.
it all.
I'm
Plus,
sure
I can
you
read
have.
charts of famous people whose birth dates you can get on birth date, time, and place you can get on the internet. And then you can understand why a lot of the famous people are who they are.
What got you into this work?
It's been a life of being an intuitive counselor, healer. And I have my school that I've been teaching weekly classes in for 28 years. And I was teaching about the Chinese I Ching. I was teaching about chakras. And one day a student said, oh, let me tell you about a new system that includes those. And I said, oh, sure, I want to know more. And so I looked into it and was fascinated. And I started to get involved. And I was fortunate to really be able to study with the founder of this. And it was quite interesting. He wasn't a very nice guy.
Oh no.
and, and he was proud of it. He had a chart,
Okay.
he was an ego manifester, and he had a chart where he could be mean, and he enjoyed being mean.
So
He
he
kind of,
knew what his traits were and he was okay
yeah,
with
he
it.
got a kick out of it. And so if you're in the class with him, he doesn't walk in and say hi. He just starts talking. Don't raise your hand because then he'll definitely not call on you. And then when
I
it's
can
over, he
relate to
just turns
that.
around and walks out without saying anything nice. So he was an interesting guy, but he was a genius, and that's why he received this information. This is higher guidance. This is coming from information from the other side, I guess you could say. And because no human could have figured this out. It was too complex, too miraculous to have anybody think that they could have figured it out on their own.
So
So it's a really a genius system.
I had a friend who did this reading on me a long time ago. And when I first saw it, I did not understand any of it. But we're going to do this again. So, because now my level of awareness is different and
Uh-huh.
it's going to help me to really dig deep. So, I'm going to be vulnerable to put my chart up. It's going to give away my age, but it's okay. But this shows the type of work that you do to really help the human being to manage life differently once they know what their personality are about and what
Right,
they can,
right.
what their strengths and weaknesses are.
We strategize life differently when we know ourselves better.
Absolutely. So, without further ado, should I show the first chart?
Sure. Sure.
Here we go. Okay.
Oh, so to a lot of people, this doesn't mean anything. But I love reading it because it's something that it's a language, common language. So under your name, there are 2 columns of numbers. There's a black column with your birth date, time, and place, October 28th, 1943. Is that 43 or 44? I can't tell.
Neither. Oh my goodness, you're making me much older than I am.
No, you see, now we know how young you are.
Oh boy.
By the way, that was my father's birthday, October 28th.
Oh, okay. There's no
And
accident why we're
then,
meeting.
and by the way, he was a great guy. He
Oh,
was,
thank
everybody
you for
loved
the
him. He was
compliment.
a wonderful person. So it's a good birthday. And then we have the red date of July 30th, same year. That's 88 and a half days before you were born. And that's the unconscious half of your personality. And the two columns of numbers are the hexagrams of the I Ching. And even more precisely, it even shows which of the 6 lines of each hexagram that you're born into. And it's very precise and very accurate. And it's amazing that we can have that kind of information.
Yeah.
And so, and when I say the unconscious side, it doesn't mean you don't know about it. It's just that it's more on the back burner than the front burner, but it's very active in your life. And so these are traits, these numbers are traits that have particular definitions too. We can talk, well, we could talk about all of them, but that would take more than
just grab a few.
show.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk about what the body graph shows, which is a chakra template. And so what it is that the hexagrams, which are the ones that are yours, are moved over into this body graph. And there are 9 centers here that represent chakras. And then there are red lines and black lines. And that's because those are lines that are your lines. The ones that are white they're not yours. It could be anybody else's.
Okay.
And so what we're going to look at are your lines and your chakras, and understand there's so much to tell you in this. And again, we could talk for well over an hour just about this body graph and what it says about you. And then below that, on the overview, it says you're a manifesting generator. And that's very important and very, very good to be a manifesting generator. I think it's the best type. There aren't many types. I'm only a generator myself in my chart. And you are bigger than that. You can manifest from it. I can only just keep on generating. And the generating has to do with moving energy. And it comes from the red square in your body graph, and that's the second chakra. And that's the chakra of the sacrum. And the sacrum is a motor that drives us. So those of us who have that square red, we think that our life is driven by using our motor. And so we wake up every day and say, how can I stir my pot? I need to make life work. I'm going to stir my pot and be successful. The theme, though, of generators and manifesting generators is frustration, because we're not true manifestors. We're only stirring the pot, hoping for the best. And the pot, it works often, but not, and often it doesn't. And so how do we deal with life when we're working so hard to stir our pot and make life work? And the idea is really to surrender to becoming an indirect manifester. So what we're stirring the pot with our intention, and that intention is given off into the universe, and the universe delivers, but in its own timing, in its own form. And so our job is really to watch the periphery. Life comes out of left field more than it comes out of our pot. And so those of us who are generators and manifesting generators, we can't stop using our motors, so we keep stirring the pot. But if we're only looking at the pot, we're going to miss so many of the opportunities of life.
Because we're trying to be in control, is that what it is? We're trying to maintain.
Yeah, we're trying to manifest, and yet we can choose as things show up out of left field.
Right.
And those of us who are manifesting generators have a guttural sound that is true for us. So if you're given a choice, your immediate response can either be an aha or and that tells you whether it's the right choice or not. It's not thinking, what sound shall I make? It's just a guttural sound that comes out of you, and then you know that it's the right direction to move in. But if you go if I say to you, let's go to the beach. You love the beach. It's a sunny day, surf's up. It's everything you love about the beach. So let's go. And you go, I go, but wait a minute. You love the beach. And you go, I don't know why that sound came out of me. And so we don't go to the beach, and later that day we find out that there was a tsunami. Your guttural sound knew it. Your mind would have no idea.
So can I say my intuition speaks to me, where I make decisions based on intuitive feelings?
Yes, you also have intuition in your chart. You are intuitive, but this is more of a guttural instinct.
Okay.
It's a different place, because intuition is more cerebral, and this is more guttural.
Okay.
It comes from the gut. Your gut knows more than your mind. And your gut is connected to the heart, etc. So it's a deeper place that choices can be made from. And on top of that, you are designed to be not only intuitive, you're designed to be highly spiritual. And the reason I can say that is that at the very top of the chart here, between the yellow and the green up there, there's two triangles,
Yes.
which are the higher mind, which a lot of people would refer to as the crown chakra, but it's really the center of abstract reality. And then the green is the mundane mind. And there's a middle channel that represents the pressure of the mysteries. And you're designed to follow the pressure of the mysteries. And people who have that are very directed to appreciate human design, let's say. And because it comes from the mysteries. And I find that in my school, where I teach, I've been teaching intuition, the Heart River Center for Intuitive Healing, and I've been teaching weekly classes for 28 years. When I do classes on human design, because I'm doing online classes, and I can bring up everyone's chart in the class, and we can all look at each other's charts and see how we're different from each other. And often in my classes, people have this pressure of the mysteries. That's why they come to the classes. So it's interesting to see how consistent this is. And so you have a very active mind. You know your mind through the mysteries, actually. And because they're both defined, so you appreciate knowing your mind. And
does that mean I have better control of the thoughts than the thinking that comes through the mind?
Kind of, yeah. Because, for instance, my two chakras on top are all white. So you have one white one down here, this little white triangle. And many people will have a majority of white rather than colored in. And the colors don't really matter. It's just that they are dark, and then there's white. And so my chart, the two on top are white. So it means that I just don't know. And yet the goal when you have anything that's white is to be attracted to define it. You're always trying to get to know yourself in the areas that are white versus colored in, because you're trying to color them in. And each of the white ones have little erasers in them, and say, try again. But they also have antennas all around and mirrors, and they really pick up what's around them. So for me, because the white ones on top are undefined, I'm an antenna, and I'm just this giant antenna of what comes in from the universe. And that's why I teach intuition. That's why I'm highly intuitive. Last night I had a class where I could, for each student in the class, I could look at 2 of their past lifetimes. They would just come up in my consciousness, and I would describe to them each of 2 different lifetimes. And in each case, it was interesting because I had no idea what I was talking about, other than that my intuition was telling me. And the students would say, "Oh, that's so relevant. It's so important to know that lifetime." And yet I had no idea why I was given that information, but that's how intuition works. We really can't have a mind that tries to figure it out first. We have to let it come in and speak to us on its own, and then that's how we know things that wouldn't be known otherwise.
So you said yours was white, and you have a heightened intuitive skill.
Right. That's one reason why I'm intuitive, is that these 2 higher chakras are undefined, and so they have antennas and mirrors and all that, so they're picking up what's going on all around, and that's it's like an original mind that way. So
And compared to color,
you know yourself, you know your mind. But for you, when you know your mind through the mysteries, that's also a mystery too.
that's what I'm trying to identify. Like it's not something that I can just figure out myself, right? It's still, I need to discover certain things
you're
as
in
well.
discovery. That the mysteries of life are all about discovery, and it's infinite. The mysteries are infinite, and so it's a great opportunity to fly into the universe and learn all you can. And even human design came through a channeling. Basically, this guy was an expatriate Canadian living in Ibiza, Spain, and one day a voice said, kind of knocked him over and said, "Start taking notes. We're going to talk to you for 8 days and teach you something." And they delivered the whole system to him in 8 days. Although the teaching continued over many, many years, but the basis of it was known to him after 8 days.
And he had this same type, he had it colored in?
I don't remember what his upper chakras were like. I do remember that his throat was connected to his ego, which is the little white thing that you don't have here. Oh, you don't have an ego. Although
Where did it go?
No, but actually it doesn't mean you can't have an ego. It's just that, because remember I said the white ones had mirrors and antennas around them. So your ego knows itself through what's around it. So if you're around other people with egos, you can reflect that, and you can be an ego yourself. But then when you're not around other egos, you don't know your ego. You don't have an ego. And then that could flatten you too. This is a vulnerable center. There are times when you go, "Oh, I just wish I had more willpower or more, self strength, ego strength." And then there are days when you're fine, when you're around others that have it. So it's a very complicated center because it involves willpower. And it's on, when it's undefined, it's on and off and on and off. People who have it defined, I always compliment them because they know their willpower, they know their ego, and are more comfortable knowing it. It's not like they have to be big egomaniacs. They don't, because when it's undefined, it could be anything. It could be through the roof or through the floor. because it doesn't know itself. And so, I'm thinking of one egomaniac I know who has it undefined.
Mm.
But then there are people who are addicts who have it undefined. So it's a complicated center, and it really depends on the rest of the chart. You have very good traits in your chart, and so your ego doesn't have to be worried about itself.
That's good news.
Yeah.
I take that as good news. So let's look at optimistic role model. I love that profile 4-6.
Well, yeah. So
My risk
that's
taker.
your profile, and those are the lines at the very top of the columns, the I Ching lines. So on the top right, there's the 28-4 and the 27-4, and then on the left there's the 31-6 and the 41-6. So what that means is that the 4 means that you're an opportunist. In other words, I became an opportunity to you. Oh, I can have you on my show. You can teach human design. How wonderful. What an opportunity. You're someone who's designed to recognize opportunity in others.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who don't seek opportunity in others. They don't have the 4. I have the 4, so I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Well, I always love.
What's that?
I'm able to recognize when people are, their ego's out of the way and they're truly here to serve, to contribute to this world. So I can sense and feel their sincerity where they want to make a difference. And I definitely sense that in you when we met. So
Thank you.
that's why you're here. Okay, let's see what else can you
Well,
define.
no, wait a minute.
What?
Opportunistic role model. So the 6 is the role model, and the 6 is difficult. It shows that you struggled in your youth.
Mm-hmm.
There was struggle, and so people who are 6s, when they get to their Saturn return in life, which is around 27, 28 years old, they actually remove themselves from any struggles they were having. They try to avoid struggle as much as they can and heal from it until their Chiron return around age 51. And then all of a sudden they become, like for you, the wise woman on the hill. So in other words, your early struggles in life have brought you wisdom that you use then in your later years. So that's the role model. You become a role model because you're the wise woman.
You're telling the truth. I cannot deny that.
I believe
Absolutely.
it.
You're speaking the truth.
Right.
For sure.
So it's so much fun to talk about all these unique traits. And the numbers also have important traits in them. And the one that I looked at that I liked the best was a 27-4 up here, the second number down. And then if you come down to where Saturn is, you have the 27-4 again. And guess what? That's a trait of generosity. You're here to be a very generous person. It's wonderful.
I'm glad to hear that, Chip.
And you're here for leadership. And that's this channel here that's 31 to the 7, just below the throat and up from the yellow diamond is a channel. It's all about leadership. And then the 31 on the upper left column of numbers is leadership. And actually, the way it's described, the kind of leadership, is that your action must match your words. You're that kind of person. You walk your talk. That's the kind of leadership you hold. And that's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
There are a lot of great. Oh, and by the way, the 41.6 next to the 27.4 here of generosity. 41.6 is contagion. You're contagious. All your
In happiness.
enthusiasm, like having the show, how many people you're reaching. How contagious is that? You're here to be a contagious leader.
Well, you know, it's my mission to truly make a difference in this world. I mean, I believe I told you that I went through a cancer journey, and I was given a second chance at life. This is how I see it. And, now I know that what I need to do is to help people see that, you know, they have gifts that they're here for a purpose. And I want people to recognize that so that they can truly enjoy life and not suffer and not be in pain, because a lot of people are just not living their truth.
Right.
So,
And of course, and that's why we're all learning.
that's right.
And it's great
Absolutely.
that you have this show for that too. So at the moon here, third number down, third numbers or symbol, people can see it as a moon. And
Yeah.
on the unconscious side, you have a trait called irony. So what you're talking about is life can trip us up and then we carry on. And irony is that 2 steps forward and 1 step backward is still 1 step forward. And you're
I
living
like that.
that truth. And it's very important because in human design, the unconscious moon is very attractive to you. That you really truly believe in that. And that you attract people to you because they know that you are a role model for that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very profound. I love that. And there's so many really good traits that you have. You have some that are struggles. One trait you have in conscious Mercury, which is the 32.4, which is kind of a little close to the middle on the conscious side. So that's a trait that I have at the very top of my chart that I live by and you live by. It's the trait of right is might. That the need to maintain your principles under any circumstance. Always be true to what's right.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it got me into a lot of trouble in my life because
I can relate.
Because I'm one of the founders of the New York City Marathon. And for the first 22 years, I was a finance director of it as well. And so I had fiduciary responsibility for the organization. And in those early years, it attracted many bad guys, many people who thought that they could take advantage of us and cheat and steal. And I had to be Jiminy Cricket because the management really wasn't that honorable. And so I was made the bad guy because I was a troublemaker because I would upset people who were trying to steal from us. and so they would say, oh, Peter's the troublemaker here, so that they could be left alone. But I went through years and years of being attacked, and I just couldn't compromise. They would say, Peter, compromise. Let us have some room. And I would say, no way. And it was very painful, and I have many scars from it. But in the end, I was the last man standing. So you were like that. You're the last woman standing.
Well, because you believe, stuck to your beliefs, right? You stuck to
Yeah,
what you knew was the right thing.
right. And you're that way,
Mhm.
and you know it.
I love that.
Yeah, well, that's because you know it so well. So, it's so much fun telling you about these.
And it's so much fun learning because I guess, I will tell you as an educator, you're not going to come around this information in school, that's for sure. Um, so it's really important information to help you really navigate life.
Well, we hope someday the school system gets wiser.
Mm.
Um, and then there's a trait. Um, well, here, one trait is that unconscious Venus. It's the prophet, the ability to foresee and plan for the end of standstill. Um, and so you're here to rouse the stagnant for communal preparation. So that's what your show is all about. Doesn't
I'm
that make
shaking up.
sense?
I'm shaking up the world.
Yeah. And so that's wonderful. And then there's a trait, I think you have it twice. I'm not sure. Maybe only once, but I love it. And it's a taste for action. You're here to, that's why you have a show. Make things happen. You're here to make things happen. It's great to have that. And
Well, I'm
so,
not going to take all the credit because guests like you bring out this information, and that's really my goal here with the show is to inform people, right? Like there's a better way, or there's another way to help them really live life authentically.
yeah, I love that. It's great. And then on the unconscious Jupiter, which is always the secret to abundance in life. So if anybody wants to know their secret to abundance in life, it's the trait of the unconscious Jupiter. And for you, it's to stick with what works.
I shouldn't be exploring or
Well,
experimenting.
no, I mean, you can add to it, but, make progress from what works.
Mm,
You know,
beautiful.
my unconscious Jupiter is very difficult, and maybe that's been an issue in my life that my secret to abundance in life is to just shut up. And I can't.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, lucky me. But no, I've had a wonderful life. I'm so blessed. And you do have good fortune. There is a trait in this 46. Where is that? Well, it's over here in the on the right side of the yellow diamond coming down. That's the 46, the gate of the 46, which is the gate of good fortune. And it's also the gate of love of body, because it's getting your body into the right place at the right time. So you have that ability, you don't have to, it's unconscious, so you don't have to think about it. It just happens that you have the good fortune of being in the right place at the right time. And love of body means you don't think that your body is the best in the world. It's just that I call it respect for the instrument.
Hmm.
You know to take care of your body. So that's important.
And you learned that later in life. Oh, I did anyway.
Well,
But absolutely,
yeah, we
it's so
learn when we
important.
need to. But looking at the body graph, there's so much in here that we haven't even looked at. Like the 18th gate down here, the spleen, this is the spleen chakra, which is the home of fear for survival. And so whatever traits are there are how you need to behave in order to survive. At least that's what your consciousness and unconscious, well, let's say your consciousness is telling you, because there are only black lines here. So it's all about your conscious traits. And the 18 on the bottom is, it's called the need to correct and challenge, because it means that you are able to identify leaky faucets in life. You know, when there's trouble, you spot it and go, hey, look at it. There's trouble here. There's trouble there. And need to, you know, feel the need to correct that. And how come nobody else is spotting these things? Well, that's because you have the 18th gate. And I have it too. And, you know, and sometimes I'll point out things that are wrong and people go, hey, you know, stop bothering us. You know, we don't see it because they don't have the 18th gate. Actually, I was a runner for so many years of my life, running around the reservoir in Central Park. And you're supposed to run around counterclockwise. But in those middle years of my life, I knew so many runners, and the running community was much more concise then. And so I would always run clockwise because I would always want to run into people I knew. But occasionally someone would shout at me, "You're running the wrong way." You know, and it would annoy me that I knew I was running the wrong way, but for a good reason. And then I finally, when I learned human design and the 18th gate, I would know those are people who have the 18th gate. They're the ones who see that I'm running the wrong way. Nobody else cares. So now, once I knew that, I'd go, oh, okay, they have the 18th gate. That's all right. Good for them. They're pointing out that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to. And then that goes
So
up
in
to
essence,
the yeah.
I was just going to say, knowing somebody else's chart can also help you to, you know, understand the other person better.
It's incredible in relationships.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I have very different charts. It's so important that we know each other's charts so we can forgive each other for being different.
Yes.
And understand it. Go, oh, so that's why you need to do that. That's why you're doing this. That's why you have to do that. And it's amazing. And she's not, I'm a generator. She's a projector. So this red square here in her chart is white. And so she's not here to stir the pot. She's here to design the pot. So projectors are 21% of the population. Us generators and manifesting generators are around 70% of the population. And so the projectors are here. It's good to have a projector in every family because they are more into self-nurturing and promoting self-nurturing. And my wife, you know, knows how to take care of herself better than I do, even though I do as much as I can, but she's more designed for it and is more, as a projector, she's here to radiate her aura. All projectors are here to radiate the aura of their design. So in other words, they want to be seen by their design and then be invited to participate by others because of how they're designed. That's why they design their pots so people can recognize them and invite them to participate. And that's what they're seeking, invitation. Whereas you and I we're just stirring our pot, trying to make people believe in us because we work so hard. And projectors, they do, but they're so oriented towards, in a sense, showing off who they are, but because of their talents and strengths, and they do that. So it's good for projectors to know their charts, to understand how to do a better job of that. But it's better in families to know that, you know, we're not all built the same way.
Right.
You know, my wife thinks more about going on vacation, and I think more about sticking to the work. So she drags me on airplanes, but once I get to where we're going, I have a good time because after all, what am I going to do? But I'll even stir the pot a lot on vacation, just being a busy vacationer. And where my wife would rather just sit and read a book. So So
All right.
they're
This is
so,
beautiful.
yeah.
So informative. So intricate, like you said, for sure. I know here it says inner authority, emotional solar plexus. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's what we talked about, is that your gut response is your
Okay.
inner authority. Your mind is your outer authority. It doesn't know a fraction of what your inner authority knows. That's why for you to follow your gut instincts is always more correct than you're following your mind.
Okay.
And then you have emotional authority, which is your third chakra. This is on the right, the solar plexus chakra is defined. So you are an emotional being, as I am. We both have it defined, and that means we're always in a sine wave of hope and pain, hope and pain, hope and pain, hope and pain, hope and pain. But we don't go through the ceiling or through the floor with our feelings because we're so used to that. Whereas people who have this white are always trying to sweep things under the carpet. They're just chill. Hey, we're okay. We're chill. We're chill. But they're the ones who will explode because the carpet gets too full underneath and all of a sudden things blow up. So they have more of a temper than you and I would have. But they want
Okay.
chill all the time. We're chill. That's not, and my wife is that way. And she looks at me and says, "You waste so much time in your emotions. Why don't you meditate?" and she meditates a few times a day. She's highly spiritual, so and she's a self-nurturer. So whereas I'm, if I go to the beach, I take my feelings with me wherever, and you're that way too. We carry our feelings around, and so our feelings are our authority also. So we might have a gut instinct that something is right. Let's say if I said to you, "Let's have dinner next Friday night," and you go, "Uh-huh." So that means that's good. It's a good thing. But then you say to me, "But I don't know how I'm going to feel next Friday. So why don't you ask me next Thursday night?" I'll have a better idea of how I feel. See, because feelings are what runs you. There's no truth in the now when you have emotional definition because your feelings are always changing. Your moods are changing. So if you agree to something, next few minutes you might not anymore. And then you will again, and then you won't, and then you will. So those of us who are emotionally defined and have emotional authority, we need to wait out our feelings to feel them out, and then we get to know if it's something we really want to do.
Beautiful. So you shared another chart, a fun chart, you say.
Yeah, can you
So
put that up? Oh, wow. See,
more
this is,
intricate than before.
well, no, it doesn't have as much information on it, really, because I like all the numbers. And it does have the chakra template in it. But around the outside are all the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. Those are 6 horizontal lines, one on top of another, and they're either solid or broken lines. And in the middle are the locations of the planets, both on your birth date and 88 and a half days before you were born. So and they all point to particular hexagrams, and those are your hexagrams. So the ones that are colored in are yours, and the ones that are gray, like gray, aren't yours. And so that's how we know which are yours. And I like this mandala because it helps us understand how human design works by seeing it through the sky. And one of the geniuses of this is the man who received this in 1987. He was shown how to put these hexagrams around the sky where they need to be placed, because no one would know how to do that on their own. It had to come from a higher source. And it's
Wow.
amazing how correct. Look at everything I've said to you so far. And I could keep talking for a long time. And you go,
We
oh.
only have 5 minutes left. Time
But,
flies when you're
right.
having
But
fun.
you would agree. Um, the more I tell you, the more you'll agree with.
Oh,
So
you've been right on target. You've been right on target from the very beginning.
and that's what people say all the time. And I love that. And so people who want a chart reading, they can reach me. I'm at Heart River, Peter at heartriver.org, HEART river.org is my email, Peter at heartriver.org. I can do different length readings. I prefer a full reading, and maybe often people do, but if they don't have the money for it, they could get an hour overview. And I work on a sliding scale between 150 and 300 per hour, depending on what people are comfortable with. And I love to do it. I treasure every
Now you
chart.
have the school. You have the school in New York
Yeah,
City.
I teach classes on Monday nights. Every Monday night, people can go to heartriver.org and you'll see a link or a tab for Monday night classes, and you can see what the latest classes are and register there. Those Monday night classes are $25, and anybody can join, although there's a limit to how many people can be in them because they do address every student for whatever the topic is. And then I'm going to be starting a Thursday night 5-week webinar teaching intuitive development and telepathy. And I'm somebody who's highly telepathic, and I know how to. I've been teaching it for 28 years, and many of my students have become highly telepathic themselves, and highly intuitive, of course. And so I love teaching that program, and so that's also on the website, and you can sign up there. And that starts Thursday night, February 13th, for 5 weeks. So there's a lot going on.
Beautiful work.
I have my own webinar. I have Energy Stew, STEW, and it's a weekly show. It's been weekly for 19 years. So
That's
and they can
beautiful.
go to energystew.podbean, it's STEW, energystew.podbean, like the beans of a pod, .com, energystew.podbean. They'd see years of archived shows, and and the recordings are live on Friday mornings at 11:30 at prn.live, Progressive Radio Network, prn.live. And so,
And this information is also on your heartriver.org page.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, they can see Energy Stew there, but it's really has its own. And there's also a YouTube channel of Energy Stew that has videos, because the the webinar on PRN is audio, and
So
so
beautiful.
both. So I've been around a long time, 28 years of weekly
Absolutely.
teachings and 19 years of weekly podcasts, although in the old days they were just called radio shows.
Well, I tell you, Peter, this was fabulous. Just, reading my chart helped me to really understand myself better. I mean, that is the goal. And when you do this kind of work, and opens up people to really, again, be able to make decisions, right? Like, okay, I understand why I'm this way, or I'm going to trust my intuition, I'm going to trust my gut feeling. And just kind of when we have this information at hand, which I wish I had it 20, 30 years ago, right, I probably would have taken a different direction in life.
And not only that, for parents to know their children's designs is immense. How to bring them up according to how their personalities are designed is huge. And so I do a
Absolutely.
lot of chart readings for parents about their children.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, we're going to take it down for a landing. I immensely appreciate you and for the work that you do.
And likewise,
And
you're
thank
wonderful. It's
you.
so great talking
Oh,
with you.
thank you. But yeah, we'll have you back on the show again, and share some of your wisdom. I mean, this is how we learn, right? And the teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Right.
So, with that being said, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Peter, so much. Until next time,
Right
I'm your
here.
host, Giovanna Tartarone, and this is Spark and Change with Gigi. See you next week, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on